This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Everyone has a reason to change. Growing old, heartbreak, a fresh start. Whatever it may be, Peloton is here to get you through life's biggest moments. With instructors that speak your language and workouts that move to your own rhythm. Peloton's Tread and All Access membership help you set your targets, track your progress, and get stronger, making your fitness goals a reality. Find your push. Find your power. Peloton. Visit onepeloton.com.
Stockwell Day joins me. He has been on the forefront of public policy development at the federal, provincial, and municipal levels of government in Canada. He has served as a member of the Alberta legislature, a member of the parliament, a high-profile provincial and federal cabinet minister, and Canada's leader of Her Majesty's official opposition. Stockwell, welcome on this very sad day.
Good to be with you, Roger, and your listeners.
So the Conservatives had a strong lead in early polling. A lot of that had to do with the deep unpopularity of Justin Trudeau. This comes as a little bit of a surprise to some. How do you think, how did this happen?
Well, it's a great question, and it's been a whirlwind of polling and ups and downs. Up until about 2 or 3 months ago, Justin Trudeau, as Prime Minister, was declining in popularity, mainly because of the very effective opposition leading of Pierre Poilievre, who was leader of the opposition at the time. And everybody was assuming that this was going to be, even up to a couple months ago, a big majority Conservative win. Unfortunately, Poilievre was so effective as opposition leader that Trudeau kept going down in the polls to the place where his party basically punted him out. They brought in a new person who is known internationally, an international banker, and with the combination of that and the tariff wars and also President Trump seeing Canada as a 51st state, that threw panic mode into everybody, including the national media. And national media ran stories for a couple of months suggesting that Mr. Carney would be a better fit as Prime Minister to fight the tariffs than Pierre Poilievre, which was wrong in my estimation. But that caused the polls to radically turn around. Actually, up until about a week ago, all the polls were then saying it was going to be a Liberal majority. But Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives started clawing their way back, but not enough to stop the Liberals getting what we call a minority government.
I mean, this election went so poorly for the Conservatives that the Canadian Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre, lost his own seat in Monday's elections. He received only 46.1% of the vote for his own seat, was defeated by Liberal Bruce Vanjoy, who won with 50.6% of the vote. I actually thought he was an excellent candidate, an excellent communicator. You may recall last time you were with us, we played that great audio of him answering questions while chomping on an apple from a smart-ass reporter. I was very surprised at this turn of events. Do you think that President Trump's trolling of Pierre Trudeau, talking about Canada being the 51st state, which was always a joke, and talking about Trudeau being governor of Canada, which was also always a joke. Do you think that was detrimental to the Conservatives?
It was probably it's a great question. It was probably the single most detrimental hit because Canadians quite rightly are quite sensitive about being seen as a 51st state. We've always been a key ally of the U.S. and ally being our closest friend as far as miles go. And to be suddenly caricatured as a 51st state, most Canadians found that offensive. And they saw in Mr. Carney the ability, because he sort of sold the message that because he'd been a globalist banker and head of the Bank of Canada at one point, head of the Bank of England at another point, that he would be better suited. That's obviously not a view that a lot of people share. But yeah, that portraying as Canada as a 51st state became a rally cry for the Liberals Now, Pierre Poilievre was also very much against that thought also. But mainstream media, which generally tracks to the left, saw an opportunity here to get behind Mr. Carney, and that's what happened.
I also think that that the kind of censorship that we had here prior to the 2020 election, and that has changed dramatically between 20 and 24, largely because Elon Musk purchased Twitter, renaming it X, and ultimately you had more of a balance, not completely, because Facebook and Instagram are still very, very heavily censored, but I think you have a much greater degree of censorship, both of the mainstream media, but also virtually no alternative media. Other than Rebel Media, hard for me to name a center-right alternative outlet in the entire country.
Yeah, that's true. Those have been ascending. I don't like to use the word alternate media, but let's say free and independent media. There's the Western Standard. There's Juno News. There are some upcoming ones. Interestingly, some of the previous reporters from those particular news organizations actually wound up getting elected this time as members of parliament. But there is it's a little different type of censorship in Canada. If you speak out of the collective narrative, your chance of being even canceled in terms of things you're involved in or portrayed as somebody who's way off to the right somewhere, that occurs in a different way in Canada. But it's very clear, it's very pronounced. And I do think now, I mean, one of the election items was, would the CBC, that's the Canada Broadcasting Corporation, continue to receive hundreds of millions of dollars, of taxpayer dollars? That was very much at stake. And so there's a strong feeling that CBC, of course, and other so-called mainstream media, if the Conservatives won, that those mainstream media would lose those valuable taxpayer dollars. And so the media definitely had a stake in this particular election, and to many of us that was obvious in how they did their reporting, which always presented a somewhat soft picture of Mr. Carney and a somewhat harsh picture of Mr. Poilievre.
Every day, thousands of Comcast engineers and technologists, like Kunle, put people at the heart of everything they create.
In the average household, there are dozens of connected devices. Here in the Comcast family, we're building an integrated in-home Wi-Fi solution for millions of families like my own. It brings people together in meaningful ways.
Kunle and his team are building a Wi-Fi experience that connects 1 billion devices every year. Learn more about how Comcast is redefining the future of connectivity at comcastcorporation.com/Wi-Fi.
Don't miss your chance to spring into deals at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 select 1-pint annuals for just $5. Plus, get a free 60-volt Toro battery when you purchase a select 60-volt Toro electric mower. With deals like these, your yard wins. Shop in-store or online today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/30 while supplies last. Actual plant size and selection varies by location. Excludes Hawaii.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority is using Google AI to create smarter tolling systems and improve traffic flow for Texans. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
There's a good chance you're dealing with a middleman, like me, when you get your medicines. That's because PBMs and insurers are often the same company. We even own big chain pharmacies and are buying your doctor's office. We decide what medicines you can get, where you get them, and how much you pay. It's a win-win. For me.
When middlemen own it all, you lose. Visit phrma.org/middlemen to learn more. Paid for by Pharma.
Interesting that Mr. Carney did not seem to suffer from his very public relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, who sits right now in a federal prison, having served essentially as the pimp for Jeffrey Epstein. Also interesting to me that many Americans do not understand how much more authoritarian society in Canada is compared to the United States. An effort, for example, if you own a firearm, the government wants you to register its existence with the government. Why could they possibly want to know that? And then many of my friends who took part in the convoy, the truck convoy, to protest the demands of the government, they take the COVID-19 vaccination, found their bank accounts frozen. Some of them were charged in what I think were politically motivated prosecutions. Justin Trudeau was moving very swiftly in an authoritarian direction, no?
Well, that's correct. Canada's history, the DNA of Canada is one that is much more, what shall we say, accepting, going back, 150 years or more, of the crown, the king, the queen from England. And there's a large group, a large influence in Canada called the United Empire Loyalists that when the opportunity, they were living among the colonies at the time, when the opportunity came to take on the king and fight the king, as happened in the colonies, hundreds, if not thousands and thousands, moved to the north to what became Canada. So there is that strong DNA within Canadian thinking and culture that is much more deferential to authority. We can argue whether that's good or bad, and not quite as offended about things like higher taxation. My own family roots go deep, and though my ancestors were part of the original colonies, my mother's side of the family moved north. She was one of the United Empire Loyalists. My father's side of the family stayed in the U.S. to fight the king, to fight authoritarian control, and to fight high taxation. So I myself, I'm a product of that by partisan nature, you could say, or binary nature of Canada. And when you have a media, mainstream media, which is, again, more deferential to certain elements of authority, then that gets exacerbated at times like this, and you'll see that side of Canadian character kind of rising to the fore a little more than the revolutionary side.
All right, we're going to leave it there. I want to thank our guest, Stockwell Day, a distinguished public servant in his home country of Canada. Actually served as the not only in Alberta's cabinet, but also held a series of senior roles, including Chief Whip, Government House Leader, Minister of Labor, and Minister of Social Services. I thank you very much for joining us today with this excellent analysis of the Canadian elections. We are disappointed, but Canada will survive.
Thank you, Roger. Good to be with you.